Stop wasting money on shampoos and serums that only coat the surface of a dying problem. Here is what they are not telling you. After 60, a hormone called DHT, dihydrotestosterone, is quietly strangling your hair follicles from the inside, one by one, silently. And the products lining your bathroom shelf were never designed to stop it. Your follicles are not dead. They are suffocating. But a 2015 study published in the journal SkinMed found that one specific natural oil, applied consistently to the scalp, produced the exact same increase in hair count as minoxidil, the world's most popular hair loss treatment. At the 6-month mark, no prescription, no pharmacy, no chemical formula longer than the ingredient list. And the #1 remedy on this list, a clinical trial specifically for hormonal hair loss, found it increased hair count by 40% compared to 10% in the placebo group. 40%. The placebo group saw 10. I have ranked 6 approaches to thinning hair after 60, from the ones the beauty industry profits from most, to the ones that actually address the biological mechanism destroying your hair at the root. Be careful. One of the most popular oils recommended on every natural health platform is actually accelerating your hair loss. I will tell you exactly which one and exactly why. If you are seeing more hair on your pillow in the morning than on your head, if you are watching your part line widen every time you look in the mirror, if you have tried the biotin, the sulfate-free shampoos, the expensive serums, and the thinning is still happening, listen closely, because you are not treating the source. Imagine running your fingers through your hair in 6 months and feeling the difference. Thick, dense, rooted, not the brittle thinning strands you have been watching disappear for years. That is not a fantasy. It is the result of targeting the correct biological mechanism with the right compounds. Consistently, starting tonight. By the end of this video, you will have a complete 30-day plan and understand exactly why everything else has been failing you. But first, you need to understand what is actually happening beneath your scalp, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and everything else makes perfect sense. Imagine your scalp as a living ecosystem, not a surface, an ecosystem. Every hair follicle is a living organ, and at the base of each one sits a tiny cluster of cells called the dermal papilla. This is the brain of your hair. It receives nutrients from your blood supply, reads hormonal signals, and tells the follicle whether to grow, rest, or stop altogether. When you are young and hormone levels are balanced, your dermal papilla keeps your follicles in the growth phase for years at a time. Your hair grows thick, strong, and long before cycling out and being replaced. After 60, this balance breaks down. DHT, dihydrotestosterone, is produced when an enzyme in your body called 5-alpha reductase converts testosterone into a more potent form. After 60, this conversion accelerates. DHT levels relative to other hormones increase in both men and women. DHT binds to androgen receptors in your hair follicles. It acts like a lock on the dermal papilla, cutting off nutrients, shortening the growth phase, and forcing the follicle to produce thinner, shorter, weaker hairs with every cycle. This process is called follicular miniaturization. The follicle does not die, it shrinks. The thick terminal hairs you once had gradually become thin, colorless vellus hairs, the kind barely visible to the eye. Eventually, the follicle goes dormant. Most people think dormant follicles are dead. They are not. They are waiting for the right environment to wake up, an environment where DHT is blocked, inflammation is reduced, and blood flow is restored. And at the same time, scalp microcirculation weakens with age. The tiny blood vessels feeding your dermal papilla constrict. Less oxygen, less nutrients, less signal to grow. It's like trying to grow a garden in soil that is both poisoned and dehydrated simultaneously. The expensive hair serums you buy at the department store, most of them contain molecules too large to penetrate past the scalp surface. They sit on top. They make your hair look shinier for a day, but they never reach the dermal papilla where the actual problem lives. To restore your hair, you need 2 things: a compound that blocks or reduces DHT at the follicle, and a compound that restores blood flow to the starving dermal papilla below. Most natural remedies do one or the other. A handful do both. And the number one on this list is the only one with a clinical trial specifically designed for hormonal hair loss, confirming both mechanisms work simultaneously. Here is the ranking, starting with the biggest mistakes. Remedy number 6, olive oil as a scalp treatment. You see this recommendation everywhere. Warm up some olive oil, massage it into your scalp, leave it overnight. Your grandmother probably did it. Every natural hair video on the internet mentions it. Here is the problem. Olive oil is highly comedogenic. Its molecular structure is dense and heavy. It sits on the surface of the scalp rather than penetrating into the follicle. For most people, especially those over 60 who already have some degree of seborrheic buildup on the scalp, olive oil creates a greasy film that traps dead skin cells, feeds the Malassezia yeast that thrives on your scalp's natural oil, and actively promotes the microinflammation that is already strangling your follicles. Think of it like pouring a heavy sealant over a garden you are trying to revive. You are not feeding the roots, you are blocking the air. The oleocanthal in olive oil does have anti-inflammatory properties, but the molecule is too large to reach the dermal papilla. It never gets there. It stays on the surface, clogging the very openings your follicles need to breathe. If your scalp is excessively dry, genuinely parchment dry, not just normal aging dryness, olive oil applied briefly may have some cosmetic benefit. But for anyone with oily roots, dandruff, any history of scalp irritation, or active hair thinning, olive oil on your scalp is making the problem worse. One caution: if you have seborrheic dermatitis, the medical name for the scalp condition that causes persistent flaking and redness, please speak to a dermatologist before applying any oil treatment to your scalp. Score: 2 out of 10. Do not put it on your scalp. Remedy number 5, argan oil. Argan oil has been called liquid gold, and as a hair product, it genuinely is exceptional for the hair shaft, not the follicle. This is a distinction almost nobody in the natural hair space makes clearly, and it matters enormously. Argan oil is rich in vitamin E, oleic acid, and linoleic acid. Applied to your hair, it seals the cuticle, reduces breakage, adds shine, and genuinely protects the existing strand from environmental damage. If you have dry, brittle, fragile hair, which is extremely common after 60 as sebum production naturally declines, argan oil used as a leave-in conditioner on the mid-lengths and ends is an excellent choice. But here is what it does not do. It does not block DHT. It does not penetrate the scalp barrier to reach the dermal papilla. It does not stimulate blood flow to the follicle. It does not address the hormone-driven miniaturization that is causing your hair to thin. Argan oil treats the symptom. It makes the hair you still have look and feel better. That has real value, but it is not restoration, it is maintenance. If you are using argan oil and feeling frustrated that your hair is not growing back, this is why. You are conditioning the survivor, not reviving the fallen. Apply it from the ears down. Keep it off your scalp. Use it after washing, on damp hair, as a finishing treatment. In that role, it earns its reputation. Score: 3 out of 10 as a hair loss remedy, 8 out of 10 as a hair conditioning treatment. Know what you are using it for. Remedy number 4, peppermint essential oil. This is where we cross from cosmetic to clinical. Peppermint essential oil contains a compound called menthol, and menthol has a specific documented effect on scalp circulation that most people have never heard of. When applied to the scalp in the correct dilution, menthol triggers vasodilation, the widening of blood vessels beneath the skin. The tiny capillaries feeding your dermal papilla expand. More blood rushes to the follicle, more oxygen, more nutrients. The starved follicle begins to receive what it has been missing. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Nutrients in 2023 tested peppermint oil against a control group in adults with documented hair thinning. The peppermint oil group showed significantly greater increases in both hair density and hair thickness compared to the control group. An earlier laboratory study found that peppermint oil at a 3% concentration produced superior hair regrowth results compared to minoxidil at 3% in the same model. 3% peppermint oil outperformed minoxidil, and it costs about $8 for a bottle that lasts months. Here is the critical detail about preparation. Essential oils are too concentrated to apply directly to skin. They must be diluted. Use a carrier oil with a low comedogenic rating, jojoba, argan, or grapeseed. Mix approximately 3 drops of peppermint essential oil into 1 tablespoon of your carrier oil before applying. Any higher concentration can cause scalp irritation and paradoxically increase shedding. More is not better here. Precision matters. Apply it to the scalp, not the hair shaft. Massage it in for 2 minutes. Leave it for at least 4 hours. Rinse thoroughly. You will feel a cooling sensation within minutes. That tingling warmth is not irritation. That is your blood supply returning to places it had forgotten. One caution: if you have sensitive skin or a history of contact dermatitis, perform a patch test behind the ear before applying to your full scalp, and keep it away from your eyes entirely. Score: 7 out of 10. Clinically tested, affordable, targets the blood flow problem directly. What it does not do is address DHT. For that, you need the next 2 entries. Remedy number 3, rosemary essential oil. This is the one that changed how dermatologists talk about natural hair remedies. In 2015, a peer-reviewed randomized clinical trial published in the journal SkinMed took 2 groups of adults with androgenetic alopecia, the hormone-driven hair loss caused by DHT, the same kind most people over 60 are experiencing. One group used minoxidil 2%, the active ingredient in Rogaine, one of the most widely sold hair loss treatments on the planet. The other group used rosemary oil. After 6 months, both groups showed a significant increase in hair count compared to baseline. There was no significant difference between the 2 groups. Rosemary oil equaled minoxidil in a controlled clinical trial for the type of hair loss most people over 60 are actually dealing with, and the rosemary group had significantly less scalp itching than the minoxidil group. Here is why it works. Rosemary contains a compound called carnosic acid. Carnosic acid inhibits the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, the exact enzyme that converts testosterone into DHT. Block the enzyme, reduce the DHT reaching your follicle, reduce the miniaturization. At the same time, rosemary is a vasodilator. Like peppermint, it increases blood flow to the scalp, but through a different pathway. It targets both mechanisms simultaneously. Block the DHT, restore the blood flow. Both in one ingredient. How to use it correctly. Mix 3 to 4 drops of pure rosemary essential oil into 1 tablespoon of jojoba oil. Jojoba is the ideal carrier because its molecular structure closely mimics your scalp's natural sebum. Your skin absorbs it readily without clogging pores. Apply it to the scalp in sections, massaging for 2 to 3 minutes to work it into the skin. Leave it for at least 4 hours, or overnight for maximum penetration. Rinse in the morning. Do this 4 to 5 times per week. Consistently. Consistency is the mechanism. 1 application produces temporary increased blood flow. 30 days of consistent application produces measurable follicle reactivation. A 30 milliliter bottle of quality rosemary essential oil costs approximately $8 to $12 and lasts 6 to 8 weeks. Compare that to Rogaine, $60 to $90 per month, for comparable clinical results in a head-to-head trial. One caution: if you are pregnant or nursing, avoid rosemary oil, and if you are on any blood pressure medications, speak to your doctor before using rosemary regularly on the scalp, as it has mild vasodilatory effects. Score: 9 out of 10. The strongest clinical evidence of any topical natural remedy for hormonal hair loss. Dual mechanism, affordable, but it is still a topical treatment. It works from the outside in. The number 1 entry on this list works from the inside out, simultaneously. Remedy number 2, saw palmetto. We are leaving the scalp now, because the most powerful thing you can do for DHT-driven hair loss is not what you put on your head. It is what you put in your body. Saw palmetto is a small palm plant native to the southeastern United States. Its extract has been studied for decades as a natural inhibitor of 5-alpha reductase, the enzyme that produces DHT, the same enzyme that rosemary targets from the outside. Saw palmetto targets it from the inside. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Cutaneous and Aesthetic Surgery compared saw palmetto to finasteride, the leading prescription DHT blocking medication, in men with androgenetic alopecia. At the end of the study, 38% of the saw palmetto group showed improvement in hair growth. 68% of the finasteride group showed improvement. Saw palmetto is less potent than finasteride, but finasteride comes with a documented risk of sexual dysfunction, depression, and post-finasteride syndrome in some users. Saw palmetto does not, and it is available without a prescription for about $15 to $25 per month. A separate 2021 randomized trial found that 300 milligrams of standardized saw palmetto extract daily produced statistically significant improvement in hair growth scores compared to placebo after 6 months. Specifically in people with androgenetic alopecia, the DHT-driven type that becomes more common after 60. The mechanism. The active compounds in saw palmetto, primarily beta-sitosterol and free fatty acids, interfere with the binding of DHT to its receptor in the follicle. Even when some DHT is produced, saw palmetto reduces how effectively it can attach and cause damage. Think of it as changing the lock, not just reducing the number of keys. The dose is 200 to 320 milligrams of a standardized extract daily, taken with food. Look for products standardized to contain at least 85% fatty acids and sterols. This is the therapeutic fraction. One caution: saw palmetto can slightly affect hormone levels over time. If you have hormone-sensitive conditions or take hormone-related medications, speak to your doctor before using it long-term. Score: 8 out of 10. One of the most studied natural DHT blockers available. Works systemically, not just where you apply it, but it is most powerful when combined with a topical protocol. Which brings us to the combination that sits at the top of this list. Remedy number 1. Oral pumpkin seed oil combined with topical rosemary oil. This is the dual protocol, and I want to show you the clinical trial behind it before I explain how to use it. In 2014, a double-blind, placebo-controlled randomized clinical trial published in the journal Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine enrolled 76 men with mild to moderate androgenetic alopecia. Half took 400 milligrams of pumpkin seed oil orally every day for 24 weeks. Half took a placebo. After 24 weeks, the pumpkin seed oil group showed a 40% increase in hair count. The placebo group showed a 10% increase. The pumpkin seed oil group also showed significant improvements in hair thickness scores and patient-reported satisfaction. The mechanism: pumpkin seeds are among the richest natural sources of delta-7 sterols, a class of plant compounds that directly inhibit 5-alpha reductase, the same enzyme targeted by prescription medications like finasteride, the same enzyme targeted by rosemary topically and saw palmetto orally. But pumpkin seed oil delivers this through the bloodstream, reaching follicles across your entire scalp, including areas topical treatments may not penetrate consistently. When you combine oral pumpkin seed oil with topical rosemary oil, you are attacking DHT from 2 directions simultaneously. The rosemary works on the scalp surface and the follicle opening, blocking the enzyme locally, restoring blood flow, delivering carnosic acid to the dermal papilla. The pumpkin seed oil works systemically, reducing DHT through the bloodstream, reaching follicles no topical treatment could consistently reach. Think of it as a siege. Rosemary from the outside, pumpkin seed oil from the inside. You are not leaving DHT anywhere to hide. Pumpkin seed oil is also rich in zinc, a mineral directly involved in regulating the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. It contains selenium, which supports the antioxidant systems that protect follicle cells from oxidative damage, and it contains vitamin E, which supports scalp circulation. 3 mechanisms. 1 capsule. The dose is 400 milligrams of pumpkin seed oil daily. the exact dose from the clinical trial. Take it with your largest meal of the day. Oil-soluble compounds absorb best with fat. A bottle of 400 mg pumpkin seed oil capsules typically costs $15 to $20 for a 60-day supply. 1 capsule per day, less than 35 cents per day for clinically proven DHT inhibition. Combine it with rosemary oil on the scalp 4 to 5 times per week, and you have a complete protocol that addresses both the internal hormonal mechanism and the external follicle environment simultaneously. Here is the complete 30-day protocol. Every morning with your meal, take 1 400 mg pumpkin seed oil capsule. 4 evenings per week, prepare your rosemary scalp treatment. 3 to 4 drops of pure rosemary essential oil into 1 tablespoon of jojoba oil. Mix them in your palm. Apply to your scalp in sections, massaging each area for 30 seconds. Leave it on for 4 hours minimum, overnight if possible. On the other evenings, if you choose to add peppermint oil to your rotation, alternate it with the rosemary treatment. 3 drops of peppermint essential oil in 1 tablespoon jojoba. Same application method. This targets the blood flow pathway on your off nights. 1 critical warning for the first 2 weeks. You may notice a slight increase in shedding. Do not panic. Do not stop. This is the transition phase. As your follicles begin to respond to the DHT reduction and increased circulation, they push out the old miniaturized hairs to make room for stronger ones growing beneath. If you stop at day 10 because you see more shedding, you stop the very process you started. Take a close-up photograph of your part line tonight, in bright light. Put your phone down and do not look at it again for 30 days. Then take the same photograph. You will see the difference. Hair loss after 60 is common. It has been sold to you as inevitable, as a genetic sentence you cannot escape. Something to manage, not reverse. That is not the full picture. Your follicles are not dead. They are waiting for the right environment to wake up. An environment